It's time to make it. Just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to this show of You Can Make It. I'm David Farrell, the old fat guy. I'm going to make something absolutely delicious today, which is rib tips. If you've ever had Chinese barbecue pork, you'll love this appetizer. And it's easy to make and it's inexpensive because I make it out of rib tips, which are the cuttings from when you make St. Louis style ribs. You can either cut them off of a full rack of ribs yourself, or sometimes when you buy your ribs in the store, there'll be a nice even rack on top, and below that will be a bunch of cartilage pieces. Use the cartilage pieces to make rib tips and cook the ribs. So all I've done is started by making a marinade, and I've put in this bowl 175 milliliters or 3/4 of a cup of soy sauce, 50 milliliters or 1/4 cup of hoisin sauce, 5 milliliters or 1 teaspoon of 5 spice, 8 milliliters of sriracha sauce, which is an oriental hot sauce. You can also use 3 milliliters or a half teaspoon of hot pepper sauce if you prefer, and 375 milliliters or 1.5 cups of brown sugar. Now, you'll note the brown sugar doesn't totally dissolve. You're looking to make a slurry. Chinese barbecued pork dishes and char siu are known for being really sweet, and that's the reason there's so much brown sugar. Now, another thing you could do is add about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of red food coloring, because traditionally char siu comes out very red. I do that when I make char siu pork. I don't do it so much when I do rib tips because they're smaller pieces, but it's just a matter of personal choice. If you like your rib tips bright red, put in the food coloring. And now that I've put the ingredients for the marinade together, I just have to put my rib tips in. And what we want to do is take the chunks of the pork cuttings and cut them into 1 to 1.5 inch squares. They will shrink up a little bit on cooking. And just put those into the marinade. So I've got all the pork put into the marinade, and I'm just going to toss it around to get it nicely coated. And these will sit in the refrigerator covered overnight, and I'll turn them every hour or two just to make sure they get good coating on them, and tomorrow we'll start to cook them up. So I'll see you tomorrow. I preheated my smoker to 230 degrees Fahrenheit, and I took the rib tips and I put them on a plate after I took them out of the marinade, just so some of the marinade can drain off them. Also, I've saved the marinade because we're going to use it later, so don't throw that out. Now let's just put the rib tips in the smoker. You want them far enough apart that smoke can get all around each of them. You can also do the ribs in a 230 degree Fahrenheit oven, but they won't have any smoke flavor, but they'll still be absolutely delicious. Once the ribs are in the smoker, I'm going to let them smoke for 3 hours at 230 degrees Fahrenheit. My rib tips have been in the smoker for 3 hours at 230 degrees Fahrenheit. Now I'm going to take the marinade that we reserved. I put the rib tips in a pan, and I'm going to pour the marinade over the top. Now normally you wouldn't reuse a marinade because the pork would have contaminated it, but this is going to be cooking for several hours, so it will be fine because it'll cook out. Now I'm going to cover the pan with foil, and what we're going to do is put this back in the smoker for 2 hours to let the moist heat soften up the rib tips. So this will go back in for 2 hours, and I'll come back and show you what we do with the ribs after they smoke for 2 more hours with moisture under the foil. The rib tips have been cooking under foil for 2 hours, and now I'm going to take them out and just put them directly on the grill for another hour. So just give me a moment here. So I put the rib tips out of the liquid under the foil and back on the grill for a little less than an hour. I actually did about 40 minutes. You got to look at them. When they're good and dark, it's fine. But you want to brush them once more with some of the liquid out of the pan just to give them a really good glaze. And now comes the best part, trying them. So let's take one of our rib tips and give it a taste. Oh, The meat is so tender, but with the delicious crust. It's sweet, almost like a candy, and only pork can get away with this much sweetness. It's absolutely delicious. The fat is really rendered out, so it's just creamy in your mouth. This is a delicious Char Siu rib tip, and the best part is you can make it.
I have a good woman, I ain't good looking, but I do some cooking. I'm the old fat guy. So use that oven if you want some lovin'. Be like the old fat guy. Be like the old fat guy.